After completing our cross-Capricorn crossing of Australia, Anne and I found ourselves on the coast of Western Australia. We were 5,000 plus kilometres from the east coast and home in Melbourne. For our return journey, we wanted to take a completely different route. So we started at Steep Point near Shark Bay, the most westerly point on the Australian mainland, before wending our way across the country to the most easterly point at Cape Byron near Byron Bay. This trip is often referred to as travelling across the bulge. Access to Edel Land National Park and Steep Point is via Useless Loop Road off the Northwest Coastal Highway. The road is bitumen up to the Denham Monkey Mire turnoff, but then becomes gravel. There are no landmarks until you reach an information board and causeway. The salinity level is very high in these waters, and as a result, salt mining is carried out in the area. When we eventually came to the border of the national park, we swung left to False Entrance, where we had booked our campsite. The road now became a track. The False Entrance camping area is the most remote of the 3 camping options, but as they are all limited in size, the closer ones to Steep Point need to be booked months in advance. We found our site, one of 5, to be adequate for our compact setup. And we had it all to ourselves. In fact, we had the whole inlet to ourselves. After setting up camp, we checked out the tracks in the area. The first of these led to some blowholes on top of the cliffs. The only thing the blowholes could muster up was some heavy breathing sounds, as the seas were on the calm side. But the tracks gave great views over the inlet. False Entrance got its name because many early mariners mistook it for the South Passage, the entrance to Shark Bay between Dirk Harthold Island and Steep Point. It was the month of August and early morning was cold and breezy in the shadows of the dunes. Once we were on the move, we headed for the track to Steep Point. The last 39 kilometres has more sandy sections and even includes some beach driving. We stopped on a rise when we noticed a wedge-tailed eagle hanging in the air as it rode the wind above a dune. We soon learned that it was having a dispute with another eagle trying to take shelter on the ground. We had never been this close to a wedge-tail in the wild before. The track now headed down to the waters of the South Passage, where eventually ran along the beach. The track then leaves the beach for a while and returns to the water at the Shelter Bay campground. The campground has 16 sites and is ideal for launching small boats. April to October is the recommended time to camp at Shelter Bay when winds are lighter and the sea is calmer. No drinking water was available at any of the campsites when we were there. It was then on to Steep Point itself. The point is perched high on the cliffs with extensive views overlooking Dirk Hartog Island and the Indian Ocean. After the obligatory photos, we spent some time taking it all in and doing some whale watching. There is also an 8-site campground perched on the cliffs in an area called the Oven. We then backtracked past the solar-powered lighthouse, which looks like a large hot water service, and picked up the track that follows the coast down the southwest side of the peninsula. On a rocky rise above the Zaatdorp cliffs, a cairn tells a fascinating story. At 5:30 a.m. on Anzac Day in 1963, the North Six, a prawn trawler on its maiden voyage, crashed into the rocks below, rolled over and immediately sank. The skipper, Jack Drinnen, was thrown clear and eventually climbed into a large icebox which had floated up beside him. The other 3 crew are believed to have drowned. Drinnen, however, survived after spending 14 days in the icebox and sometimes on its lid while using it as a raft. It was reported in a newspaper at the time that he lived on 20 oranges, 9 raw eggs, and by licking dew off the lid of the icebox. After being presumed dead, he was spotted up near the South Passage and rescued by the trawler Sonoma. The Zaatdorp Cliffs are named after the Dutch East India Company ship that was wrecked on this coast in 1712. It was one of 2 ships carrying newly minted silver guilders to Batavia in present-day Indonesia. Further along the coast is Dicko's Lookout and Thunder Bay blowholes. We could hear air rushing in and out of the blowholes and for small cracks under our feet. There was only a small swell on this day, with the occasional mist spraying from the blowholes, but you wouldn't be standing this close during heavy seas, when the seawater can shoot 20 metres into the air. A short distance on, the track cuts back and across to the east side and to the track that took us back to our camp at False Entrance. It was, all in all, a great day. The next day we packed up and headed back to the northwest coastal highway, calling in at Hamelin Pool on the way. Hamelin Pool has a caravan park with a historic telegraph station and post office. But the main attraction at Hamelin Pools is the World Heritage stromatolites. Stromatolites are living fossils, the earliest record of life on Earth, a time when no other complex creatures were present on the planet. They look just like rocks from a distance, but each structure is actually a very slow-growing microbial colony that may grow less than 1 millimetre per year. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a close look because the boardwalk had been damaged in a cyclone. From there, we headed for another small place called Murchison Settlement, where we were to camp for the night. We took the Red Dirt Butcher's Track, which cuts through the Toolonga Nature Reserve. The weather was dry, and it was a great little outback road to zip along. The Shire of Murchison is known as the Shire without a town. Home to less than 20 people, the population was more than doubled by a group of bikers who turned up at the campground. But that's not all. Each July, during the school holidays, around 200 people attend a 2-day polo cross tournament. They come from all around Australia and camp on site. This has been going on since 1984. The next morning, we drove out of Murchison, which is not a town, and turned onto what is known as the Woolwagon Pathway. These roads would eventually lead us to the town of Kew, with a few interesting places on the way. A few kilometres down the road, we crossed over the dry riverbed of the Murchison River. Going on the water level on this sign, it is not always dry. Wildflowers started appearing along beside the road. And then there was this strange object, the largest mailbox you could possibly imagine, made out of a concrete mixer barrel. We are now passing by Wooleen Station, the site of the historic woolshed that was destroyed during a freak storm. Built in 1922, the woolshed would have had a self-supporting barrel vault roof, like the one used on the kitchen building. Other remaining buildings include the shearers' quarters. Wooleen Station has captured attention in more recent years due to lessees David and Francis Pollock's radical plan to destock the 500,000 acre property of cattle and regenerate the overgrazed land. Not to mention they're allowing their property to be a sanctuary for dingoes. Follow us in our next episode when we enter Western Australia's gold mining region with historical towns of Kew and Sandstone, and Australia's deepest mine at Gwalia and its connections to an American president.